All right, everybody, thank you for joining me once again for one of these videos. Um, if you are new to the channel, History Question, this is a channel where, I plan on covering a few topics about what we've been told and how we've been told to look at reality and just looking at things in a slightly different angle and seeing if we can see something different. I think we put too much faith into man to be honest and truthful with a lot of subjects, and I think we forget that history is, what did Napoleon say? History is a group of lies agreed upon, something like that. And also Victor writes the history. So our history can be skewed for several reasons, and our history can be off for several reasons. It's not like in 2019 the scientific world and the academic world has discovered all that there is to discover. I don't believe that's the case at all. I do respect the academic world and the scientific world, but I do question some of their theories and some of their what they state as being factual. One of the things that I often have wondered about is the mountains on this planet, on this plane that we live. And the accepted answer to mountains is basically volcanoes. Just at one point, all this rock was being pushed up from underneath, and it came up and cooled. And other mountains are supposedly because plates are crashing and grinding together and sliding underneath each other and pushing each other up and around, and plates are pushing, and that's how Earth is being pushed up, and glaciers melting and moving is how all these mountains were formed. And I believe that is the case for some of the geology and that we have on this planet, but I believe that a great deal of our planet is actually just deceased creatures. I think they're deceased. Again, I've said it in a few of my videos, and I'll probably say it in some of my other videos. One of my friends pointed out, they said, well, how do you know how these giants look when they sleep or when they go rest or something? We don't know what they look like. It's not like they get in a bed and pull up a sheet over them, if they were to sleep or something. So we don't know what these things look like if they're resting. So, and I have to agree with that. That's true. Um, so now looking at this is of course Italy and Spain, and we're looking at a portion of Europe, but you can clearly see the outline of a very distinguishable body of something. So I'm not quite sure how this thing is shaped, if it's out and about and moving around. I'm not quite sure if this thing would be swimming or if it would be running, walking, flying. I have no idea. But you can see this flipper structure right here. You can see the neck, you can see the head. You see on the sides of the head is pretty symmetrical. It has a symmetrical shape to it. And with any type of roadkill or anything that's been decomposing for a while, it'll get out of shape and things will kind of skew, but you can still look at a squirrel that's been run over 30 times and been laying in the street for 3 weeks. You can still look and say, oh, that's something, that was something biological there. And that's what the case is when you look at pretty much all of our earth from a certain vantage point. Everything seems to be part of creatures. So again, just look at this for a moment. Look at the head and the eyes I drew here just so you can have a perspective of where to look. And this feature right here where these three little islands are popping up, this all used to be above water, and it has this odd hook shape like a horn. If you go to the back, you have this tail here, and you have a split. It's going into a split. Now the split I always point out is because this split is everywhere. It's everywhere. All over the planet there are these split tails. Sometimes they're attached to things and sometimes they're not. Here's what seems to be a leg or some, I guess a leg. Yeah, this could be an arm or a claw. And now let's look at this without the line. And I want to look at this from a little higher up. Okay, so now here it is again. And again, it stands out when you look at it. Your eyes are drawn to the head, your eyes are drawn to the neck, whatever this is, and obviously the tail. So your eyes are drawn to these things just because that's just what we do. We when we see body parts of things, we kind of begin to analyze. Excuse me. And look at the back here. I'm not quite sure what all this is, or how this thing was put together, but this could possibly still be a part of this creature. Now, I want to show you something really interesting. You see this back leg here, what I think to be a back leg. Now, you can't really see this really, good from this vantage point, but let's take a closer look at the end of that leg. Let's take a closer look at what's on the end of that. So when you look and see what's on the end of that, you see what seem to be digits, or what seems to be a foot, or some type of a hand or a foot type thing. You see that. You clearly see it. You see this digit, you see this digit, you see this digit, you see this digit, and possibly this digit. Now, the fact that a foot-like structure is on the bottom of what looks to be a leg, and the leg is attached to what seems to be a body, and the body is attached to what seems to be a head, seems like too many coincidences. And then at the end of this thing, it seems to be a tail. It just seems to be too coincidental to just be like that, because again, this is all over the world. You have these different creatures too, not the same look. They're varied in how they look, and the size and the shape, but they obviously all have body parts that you can tell. So now let's look at the head for a little closer. Now this is the head, and as you can see, this and all of this used to be above water, and it's eroded away. And this, interestingly enough, is kind of peculiar. This break right here. And then, you have this over here. And it's my theory that some of these creatures are laying on top of other creatures also. So it could very well that this structure right here could have been a part of this, and it's laying on top of yet another thing, whatever this thing is over here. And we'll go into this over here because they're everywhere. And you see the close up of what this is right here. And again, it's coming out. So I'm not quite sure what this was, but it sure looks to be a part of this right here, where this piece is, like it was a horn or something coming out. Let's look at the ridge, these mountain ridges. This is one right here. You see another one that's pretty symmetrical. That's pretty, that seems to be pretty symmetrical for, just a random structure. These two ridges, just like you see the ridges on like alligator backs, or you see the ridges on some type of lizards or something. And look at all of this. Again, this used to be part of this head structure, but this all dissolved away. And you see the clear definition of the neck. You see the clear definition of the back that was attached to something back here. And you see again these bony structures, what actually could be teeth. So here we have this another creature laying in salt water dissolving. Is this what our reality is? Is just a big place to dissolve giant creatures? Now I want to look at this one. This was on my first video, and again, you see the eyes, you see the mouth, you see like the nose, you see this horn structure right here. You see this right here, which seems to be the other side of this creature's skull, or something that it got torn open or blown open. And what took these creatures down? If something, and you see the veins, look at the veins in the mouth. Now, this is again a geological feature in America, western part of the United States. What took these creatures down if something actually did take these creatures down? What was it? Let's look at a little brighter contrast here and just look at this for a second. It looks to be the shape of a head and a neck. That's the first thing that comes, and then you've got this bony structure right here, which I'm not quite sure what it is, but and even right here looks like that could have been an eye, or this could have been like the eye right here, and this could have been some type of beak structure. So we have a lot to go over. I'm going to be showing these videos. I'll probably try to post one every week, so please stop by and just take a look at these videos and tell me what you think. I'd appreciate it. All right, have a good one.